Hello everyone, it's Shannon here with Waffle Flower Crafts. In today's video, we're going to play with Waffle Flower's WaterMediaMat and combine it with some ink smooshing in a controlled sort of fashion. I have 3 ink colors on the right, as well as an A2 panel of watercolor paper. I'm going to create a background, and to start, I'm going to take the ink cubes and apply them directly onto the WaterMediaMat in sort of an oval fashion. Started with the yellow, my lightest color, and then I circled it with the blue. Now I've sprayed it with several sprays of water, and then I'll take my watercolor panel, flip it over, and press it down into the ink. I'm going to make sure I press all over so that ink gets to every edge of the paper. Once I'm done pressing, I'll flip the panel over and you can see how beautiful our background is. I really love how the ink kind of stays put a little bit on this silicone surface. It just lends itself to some really cool and much more controlled ink smooshing. Now I'll just clean off the mat with some baby wipes. So I'm not quite done with this technique. I would like to play with it a little bit more here, so I'm going to try applying my inks in kind of stripes. Starting with my lightest shade again, this is just to avoid cross-contamination. If I started with blue and then applied some yellow, I could possibly touch my yellow ink pad to the blue ink and contaminate my pad, so definitely want to start with your lightest shades first. I just spritzed it with several sprays of water, and now I'm taking my A2 panel of watercolor paper and just pressing it into that liquid ink. Once I've pressed all around, I'll flip the panel over and to reveal the background. Really pretty. Love kind of that ombre look that I got by the stripes. And right now I just didn't get the ink all the way to the edges, so I'm just pressing the edges of the paper into that liquid ink that's on the surface of the mat. Now I'll set that aside to dry, and I'll clean my mat with some baby wipes. Just a note, some inks will stain your mat. To see whether they'll stain, you can test them on the back side of your mat. Now I'm going to move on to coloring some images. These images are from the Be Him stamp set. I just stamped them in VersaFine Onyx Black ink onto some Bristol paper, and now I'm going to watercolor them in with these inks. I'm going to take these little cubes and just press them into the palette wells that are on the mat. And it's awesome that these little cubes fit perfectly inside, and I'll just spray some water into the mat and use that to kind of mix with the ink and kind of get it a little bit more liquidy, especially lighten up this blue a little bit because it is very bright, just to add a little shadow here and there on the panda. Once I'm done with the panda, I'll move on to his little bow tie. I'm going to color the bow tie yellow, and then I'll add a little shadow with that orange color, which really makes that bow tie kind of pop a little bit. It's really nice, these images. There's not much you have to color, so it just makes it for a really quick and easy card, especially with that really fast background that we created. And I also colored in that little ribbon stripe on the top hat. Now I'll set those aside, clean my mat real quick here, just use the baby wipe again to clean those wells, and my mat is all clean. So now it's time to assemble the card. My watercolor panel is completely dry. I'm going to use some liquid glue here to adhere it onto my card base. My card base is made from 110-pound white cardstock, and it is a top folding card base. I also created a frame. I die cut this frame using the ticket frame die out of some craft paper and out of craft foam, and then adhered the two together. Now I'm going to use some more liquid glue here just to adhere this frame to the front of the card. Now I'm ready for the images. I have some foam tape on the back of the panda here, so I'm just going to stick him inside the frame. I also have some foam tape on his little top hat, but a little too much, so I'm going to trim off a little bit so that little top hat can kind of rest a little bit on the top of his head. And then for the bow tie, I'll just use some liquid glue to adhere that. For the sentiment, I used the tiny terrarium stamp set, stamped it onto some black cardstock, and I also have a little bit of foam tape behind that to adhere it down onto the frame, and that will complete the card. I also created a card from the second background that we created. For this one, I used the rabbit from the Be Him set and used some of the different accessories that are part of that set. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you want any more information on the products I use, please visit Waffle Flower, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.